Luka's Kids, it's Luka's Kids, it's Luka's Kids.
Alright, welcome back to another episode of Luka's Kits. And we got kind of an interesting one for you today, kiddos. And this is one I have had for a little while that I got from a club member at one time, one of the little building clubs that I was involved with, and he was nice enough to give this to me because I had an interest in it. And he just pulled it out of his collection and handed it to me. It's an older kit, and I really appreciate it, and I just haven't gotten around to building it, but I will build this kit. And I just thought that the box art was just so neat, and I have Italian heritage, so I got a really big kick out of it, being a Fiat, and I like how it's called FIATSCO. I would probably, if I built it, that'd be what I'd call it. I just really think this is a neat looking little kit, and it's kind of simple. It's old. I imagine that it comes from the 70s, I'm sure, or possibly the 60s. I know it's been put out in many different issues, and I don't believe that this is the original issue, but I just really dig the box art. It's kind of a smaller box, as you can see, than your normal box, like, you know, how big. This is a typical, it's taking up the screen, typical model box, but it's kind of a small car anyway, so let's take a look inside of it. Let's look at the FIATSCO. Then we'll start with the old instructions. FIATSCO. Pretty basic, typical old AMT type of instructions. You can see how they're really yellow. This is an old one. I still haven't found a date anywhere. Pretty good illustrations on the engine here, and the instructions are pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to this kit, so it's pretty simple. But yeah, it has some pretty interesting detail for as simple as a kit that it is. I don't know how accurate it is. I'm not really in tune to drag cars of that era and a lot of the Fiats. I know they usually didn't run them in full bodies like this particular kit shows, but I kind of like the full body. I think it's pretty cool. And here's the last bit of it. Again, very simplistic kit. Typical of the day, but a really neat kit. I think it's going to build into a really cool little car. Now, we'll take a look at the body here. Someone at one time had already assembled the body. It's actually in 3 pieces, and we'll look around it. And there we got the spare tire here. That's always really prominent on these Fiats. And just such a small little body, but it is in 3 pieces. You've got the nose, the hood, and the main body here, and someone has glued it together, but I think it would come apart pretty easy depending on how I want to build it. I may just build it this, I don't know yet. I'm far from ever getting to the time that I do build this kit, but I would like to. I really have always been fascinated with these cars, and I think it will be one that looks really cool on the shelf. A lot of the parts are off the tree, so here's the frame. Pretty basic, just square tube frame. But you know, these cars were very basic back then. There was nothing really spectacular about them, so it's actually kind of accurate in that regard. Got some of, I think this is the, what would be the, I don't know, something in the front suspension here. But and here is probably your wheelie stops at the time. You know, they didn't really have wheelie bars like they do today. The firewall. Here's the bottom of the car. Pretty basic engine. I believe it's supposed to be a 50s Hemi, what were those, a 392 Hemi. Not a lot of detail in it, but I'm sure when you get it all together, it'll look right in the car. Front suspension, just a basic single leaf spring with an I-beam front suspension, straight axle. It's got the Krieger SS's, or would they be center lines? We've always had that debate in the past. A lot of people don't like these AMT 2-piece slicks. I actually have always been a big fan of the 2-piece slicks. Once you put them together and you sand this, I think they look really good. And AMT had done several different sizes and widths over the years, and I've always liked their slicks. And I like that wheel too. Now with the chrome paint technology, you could get a very good looking wheel out of that. And of course, your basic seat for the driver to die in. Here's one of the wheel tubs that go up in. It's got separate wheel tubs that go in and up into the body here. and up against the frame. And just to show you down in the bottom of the box, all the parts are off, so there's a whole bunch of little pieces and parts here that go to this kit. You can kind of get an idea of the simple roll cage. Again, a basic model kit of what was a really basic race car. Look at these heads. They've got even the detail for the valves in them. Kind of simple, but that's kind of cool. They used to do that a lot back in the day. I find that pretty cool. Here's your front runner wheel. But here's all those parts down there. Pieces of the engine and the rear end. Steering. And then there's the Firestone front runners. Kind of the pie crust looking old style tires from back in those days. Pretty skinny. But it is a two-piece tire. Kind of a it's a not a rubber like what we're all known. It's a very pliable plastic. It's not hard like the rest of the kit. Again, I have always liked these types of tires. A lot of people don't, but once you get the model built, who cares if it's squishy or not? I think these things make a very good looking tire. Lots of times, you know, everybody has a tendency to blow off tires just because there might be hard plastic or semi-hard plastic and they're in halves, and they go, ooh, that's not a good looking tire. But if you take your time, put them together right, you can make yourself a very, very nice looking tire. Be surprised at what models I have built that have those type of tires in them. Now let's go to the chrome tree. Now, I don't know, maybe this kit had chrome wheels with it. They're not in here, but there are a set of wheels in here, so I don't really care. But there may or may not have been. That might have come from the manufacturer like that. But you've got your old Chrysler Firepower valve covers for that little 392. I hope I'm correct with saying that. Some of you Mopar aficionados may correct me if I'm incorrect. I don't claim to know everything, but I pretty much do know most everything. And then you've got a really, really cool like ladder bar suspension setup. I guess old style, you know, those really long gasser type suspensions that had these long trailing arms, or tubular fabricated trailing arms, I guess the best way to put them, are ladder bars. And these are kind of neat how they have the lightning holes in them. Did I say that right? Lightning, not lightning like blast from the sky, but lighting up, like lighting the thing up so it's not so heavy. And then there's your two-piece moon tank, all the pieces to put together the quick change rear end. And you've got your grill here and your zoomies and all the typical stuff for a drag car. And there, oh, and there's the chrome piece that goes into the back spare tire area there. That indent. It's not an indention, but you know that spare tire deal. It's the Fiats are known for. So that's it for this kit. I hope you enjoyed this. It's kind of a neat little rundown. Some of you older guys who probably got this kit when you were a kid, bring back some memories. They're not so easy to find. I think the last time they were ever really produced was maybe in the late 80s, or I believe there was like a 3-in-1 kit, 3 different kits into one box, or 2, something like that. Was the last time that this Fiat showed up. They would once in a while come out in those old AMT blue printers. I think they did one of those. So it's not an easy to find kit these days. But if you ever run across one of those in the old swap meet and you kind of like these old drag cars, don't worry about picking it up. Here you see what the kit's like. It again, basic but pretty nice. It will build into a very, very nice model. And as the box art depicts, it does look like it would build into a really neat looking little model. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Luka's Kits, and we'll see you in the next video.